Welcome to Improvement, the podcast show. My name is Ichiro Takahashi, and each week we bring you the person or the message that will help you improve your life. Thanks for tuning in. Now, let's begin your journey. This week, the CEO of Zero Negativity Clothing and former police officer, Dan Gaunt, joins me to talk about mental health issues, the fashion industry, how he basically networked his way through, the importance of an engaged audience when working with influencers, and so much more. With his business, Dan has saved an estimated of 3 million liters of water, or enough water to sustain 4,281 people for a full year. So, without further to say, please enjoy. Welcome to the Improvement Show, Dan. How are you doing?
Thank you very much.
Great.
I'm good, yeah. Good, thank you.
That's awesome, man. I'm just so excited. And as I told you, I did my homework, and after all the things I read and also watched about you, I now admire you even more. But for the people listening who don't know what I know, would you tell them who you are?
Yeah, I'm just a normal guy from a town near Manchester in England. I'm 29 years old now, and I have been through quite a lot in my time, I would suppose. So, just as a bit of background, I was a police officer for 5 years here in the UK, and during that time, I had some real issues with mental health, post-traumatic stress, depression, those kind of things. And in the end, I had 5 or 6 months off work from what I was doing, and it got to quite a dangerous place, really. And in the end, I had therapy and counselling and medication, things like that. But ultimately, what kind of dragged me out of it and what still keeps me focused now is this idea of a mindset and a zero negativity mindset. So I left the police and I started a clothing company. And the idea behind that was to help people by, we give a product away for everyone that we sell of our own branded stuff. So it helps people who are going through all sorts of different problems with clean, fresh, new clothing that they perhaps wouldn't have been able to get hold of otherwise. So that's kind of the ethos behind what we do. And yeah, I had no experience of a clothing company or anything like that before. And to be honest, I'm not entirely sure where the idea came from, but that's kind of where we are with it. And that's how I try to live my life, with that kind of zero negativity ethos and mindset behind everything that I do.
That's awesome, man. And I love that you actually answer something that I was about to ask you later about where the idea come from.
Yeah,
but
I have no answer for that.
but let's start by this. I really want to dive into this because you mentioned you served as a police officer.
Yeah,
and I know that experience had an impact on your life, specifically on your mental wellness. And it's also connect in some way to your clothing brand, which I want to talk about later. So first, could you tell me more about that specific period of your life?
Yeah, so I was quite young when I joined. I was 23, and I don't know really. It's something that I didn't really know when I started what it would entail. Like, I knew it would involve, some not very nice things and long hours and being tired and the rest of it, and some violence and things like that. But I wasn't prepared for the strain that it put on not only you as a person, but the relationships that you have with your family and friends and things like that, because your social patterns are just totally messed up. So yeah, that period for the first maybe 2 or 3 years, I really enjoyed it, and my life changed completely because I moved to a new town in order to do it, and left my family behind. And it was only really I'd dealt with just one too many traumatic experiences, and I started to develop symptoms of PTSD. I didn't know that at the time, but just not being able to focus properly and having flashbacks and things like that, and not being able to sleep properly, anxiety. And in the end, it was probably 5 or 6 months after the kind of major incident that I had issues with, before I actually admitted that there was a problem and took some time off work. So it was a dark time, and it was, it's one of those jobs where it's getting better, but at the time it was one of those jobs where admitting you have a mental health problem, and in particular something from what you've been dealing with, is not frowned upon, but it's kind of, people don't openly talk about it and don't admit it to each other. And fortunately, from the friends I still have in the police, that is beginning to change, and people are getting more open about talking about their problems. But especially for me at the time, I didn't really feel like I could open up and admit to myself what was going on. So I had some brilliant times in the police, and the people I will always miss, the people who I worked with, because they're some of the best people you could ever meet. And I know people have got their own opinions on police officers and how they work and things like that, but 99% of the people I ever met were the most stand-up, loyal, and bravest, most courageous people I've ever met. So I learned a lot, and it was just, for me, at the end of it, after I'd been through all that, and I went back to work, and I did another 12 or 18 months before I actually left the police, and it was just time for me to move on, and I'd just kind of outgrown that part of my life, I think. So so yeah, that's I have good memories, also some bad memories, but mainly good.
I'm sorry, Dan.
Yeah, you still there?
Oh, awesome. I think that, well, you mentioned something that in that area, right? Like, that field is hard to open up. But I think that when it goes down to mental health, it's something that actually is really, right now, is currently not a lot of people is like that open about that. Yeah. I want to ask you 2 questions. First, before that experience with as a police officer, do you have any type of connection with mental wellness?
No, not really. No, I hadn't struggled with anything like that before. My dad had some issues with anxiety and things, but I was kind of shielded from that, and he dealt with his issues and changed. It was career based again, and he changed his job and his career focus and got himself better. But apart from that, I had no kind of experience of it, and certainly no work with any mental health professionals or charities or anything like that. But it was actually, when I was policing, I was exposed, obviously, to quite a lot of dealing with people who were having mental health issues and mental health crises. Go to, suicide and self-harm, and it's only kind of through dealing with those things that I maybe actually started to realise that there was some of those tendencies I could see in myself, in what I was doing. Because without that experience, I maybe wouldn't have spotted it. So it was a valuable lesson.
I got it. And when did you tell yourself, Dan, we are done here? What was your break point?
Do you mean for going off work with an issue, or just leaving the police in general?
Yeah, leaving the police in general.
I think it came to a point where I felt like I'd done really, really well to get myself well enough to get back to work, and then once I was there, I enjoyed a few kind of months where I was just glad of being back at work and that I'd managed to get myself to that point. But then I realised quite quickly that it wasn't making me happy. and it was such a big part of my life. Because, like I say, your social calendar is just totally messed up. You're working nights and weekends and the rest of it.
Yeah.
That I didn't have the chance really to see my family and things like that. So when I realised it wasn't making me happy, that was kind of the decision made. And it was just, right, well, if I'm going to leave, what am I going to do next? And it just took me a bit of time to kind of figure that out. But the decision had already been made when that kind of penny dropped that I wasn't happy anymore. So that's kind of, to me, your work, it's very important that what you do for work makes you happy, or at least doesn't make you sad, because you spend such an inordinate amount of time doing it. You spend more time at work than you often do with your family members. So it's a very important part of your life, and I always think you should try and do something for work that means you don't look forward to the weekends and don't look forward to your holidays just as an escape. You know what I mean? It should be a case of looking forward to a Monday morning, because you've got all this stuff to do and you're ready to go and do what you love. Yeah,
I agree with you, Dan. I would love you to walk me through the process you followed to improve your mental health. How do you reach a strong and positive mindset after all what you went through?
To be honest, I don't know if there was a particular process I went through. I had some counselling, so because of the condition I had, which was PTSD, I had something called EMDR therapy, which is a bit like hypnotherapy, and it's about reprocessing your brain's reaction to memory. So when you think about or have a flashback, or you think about a particular traumatic incident, when you have PTSD, your body and your mind goes into overdrive because it thinks it's happening again, and you start to panic. And the EMDR therapy is a way of reprocessing that so that you don't have the same reaction. You'll never forget what happened, but you won't panic as much as you did before and won't have those same reactions. So I'd had that for a few months, and then, to be honest, the mindset that I adopted, this kind of zero negativity thing, and you probably won't know who they are over there, but in the UK we have a program on TV called SAS Who Dares Wins, and it's a team of ex-Special Forces soldiers who basically put a team of civilians through Special Forces selection as kind of condensed version of Special Forces selection. And having watched that, that program is not all about rough, tough soldiers. It's about the stories behind it. So there's 3 or 4 of these soldiers, and they tell their own stories about the things that they'd been through and the ways they got through it, and that really helped. And one of them in particular has this kind of ethos of not letting that negativity kind of breed through everything, because if some of those guys have worked in toughest of situations across the world, and if any kind of negative energy will bring down a mission, so to speak. So it's that kind of thing. I saw it as it's my kind of mission to get myself well enough and get myself better, and the only way to do that is to change the way that I'm thinking about my situation, about my mental health, about my career, and think positively, take the positives from everything. And it made me think, I used to get really angry and upset at work when I was policing, because there'd be so much injustice in the world, and so much kind of people who just, would not help themselves no matter what the kind of society tried to do. They just were what I would deem to be like bad people. And it changed my mindset on those kind of things, because I thought not necessarily that their lives could change, but I was thankful that I wasn't in that situation, that my life hadn't turned out like that. Even though I had my struggles, I was thankful and grateful that I at least, didn't struggle with drug issues, didn't struggle with alcohol issues, or anything like that, or any major mental health problems. So just little things like that, just the way you think about things changes. And then even so much as thinking, I'm not happy in my career, rather than wallowing in it and thinking, right, well, I'm stuck in it now. Then I thought, right, what can I do to change it? What can I do to turn this into an opportunity to do something different? And not only that, but make myself happier and help other people as well.
That's awesome, man. The way that you reframe your life, like the perspective. Like, I'm grateful that it's not I'm pretty sure you're grateful of the things that you are and you have, but you also are grateful of the bad things that you don't suffer.
Yeah.
That you're not. That's awesome, man.
Hey guys, before we keep going, big thank you to our sponsor today, Play. Creating a successful marketing campaign or even a social media post can require a long time spent on research, and saving time in a world that goes so fast was never more important. That's why I want to thank you about Play. Play makes it easy for you to access the training content in your niche, discover relevant keywords under search volume, and learn the latest marketing strategies. No marketing experience required, it's easy to set up with a few taps and available on the go. It's like having a marketing team in your pocket. And all that for the price of a coffee. All you have to do is go to the App Store on iOS or to Google Play on Android and download it. Now, let's get back with the episode.
Let's talk about your clothing brand, Zero Negativity Clothing, because I read the brand was born out of your struggles with mental health. And I also read that you and your wife had this idea when you saw expensive designer t-shirts around John Lewis. I would love to know how everything is connected. Is that something you could elaborate on?
Yeah. She's not my wife anymore, unfortunately, but
I'm sorry.
at the time, it's not sorry. So basically that's kind of how it came about. I've got no experience in the clothing industry whatsoever, but we were in a John Lewis store, which was near to where we lived at the time, and we were just in there looking at clothing and picked a t-shirt up and thought, God, I think it was about £60 or something, this t-shirt, and I just thought, there's no way this needs to be this expensive. Yet not any good for the planet and not any good for the people that are involved in that process, other than the kind of big corporation. So that's kind of where the idea started. How can we do something that can provide us an income, but also can help people along the way? And that's kind of where we started with our process and how we got to where we are today.
Was it a moment of realization, or you were building up the idea?
No, there wasn't such a moment, like a light bulb moment. There was just over time it developed, and my dad and family helped me with the business and setting it up and everything. And my wife at the time obviously was a big part of that and a great support and happy to help. And it just built up over time. It started with, right, well, how can we source the t-shirts or the hoodies or whatever it is? Where can we get them from? Can we make sure that they are kind to the environment? Can we make sure that the people that are involved in that supply chain are looked after and paid fairly and have fair working conditions? And it was only if we could tick that box that we moved on to the next stage, and we managed to find all of those things. So then we moved on to how do we decorate them? How do we print the designs on them? Where do we get the designs from? How do we distribute them? And it was everything that we did, we wanted to have a positive impact. So even down to the designs themselves come from student graphic designers who we give an opportunity to kind of show their work.
Yeah,
and some of those they've had some brilliant opportunities off the back of the chance we've given them. So that's great. But even think the environmental thing is a big thing for us as well. A lot of the stuff that we get is completely carbon neutral. Everything is organic cotton or recycled polyester. We don't, and we will turn down, because we do a lot of business to business wholesale stuff as well. We will turn down clients who we don't think are a good fit for us. If they're just trying to use it as a bit of a greenwashing tactic, then we will say no. We want to work with people who are genuinely trying to help the environment and help people, and that's kind of, we stick to that as a principle of our business.
I see, man. I see. What I think also is awesome. Well, I have a lot of questions, to be honest, but what I love is that you had no experience with design, and you figured it out. You figured out a way to make it work by connecting with design students, right?
Yeah.
How that idea came to your mind?
I was doing a master's degree as well as policing and starting a new business, because I'm just one of those people who takes too much on. But so I was studying for a degree in history, and I don't really know. I just kind of thought there must be lots of people who are very creative and know what they're doing within the university, and who would relish the opportunity to put those designs on a T-shirt or whatever. And there was. So I went and did kind of some talks with some students and just kind of explained the idea, and had maybe 5 or 6 of them approach me and say, yeah, I'd love to get involved. And they still get involved now. And the majority of the designs that are on the website are ones that have been done by students who have then gone on to do bigger and better things. And it's just that I think, as an entrepreneur, if you want to call it that, then it's got to be about, if you don't know how to do something, rather than let that kill the idea, you either figure out how to do it or you find somebody who can. So that's the way I've always worked. And as a business, we try to never say no. We always say we'll give it a try. Yeah. You know, if a client comes to us and says, can you do this particular product in this particular textile, even if that's not something we currently offer, we'll always say, give us a couple of weeks and we'll see what we can do. So it's the same ethos through everything, really. You know, if I didn't have any experience in the accounting side of business, or the postage and packaging, or any of that kind of thing, but I learned how to do it because I needed to. So that's kind of how I've always approached everything with the business.
And that's awesome. Actually, I share that mindset with you, that if you don't know how to do something, there is always someone that knows how to do it, you know?
Yeah.
But to connect with people, this is what I think. You need to know what they want, because I believe that nothing comes out of nothing. Like, you got to give something and they're going to give you something. So they provide you of the design. What was your idea when you were like in this sort of negotiation? What was your pitch, so to say?
Well, the way I pitched it was that, one, they would be helping a new startup, environmentally friendly business. They'd be helping the people who were given the donated T-shirts, and we would give them, obviously, credit for all the designs. So the website that's currently up is a bit of a temporary one as it's being redone. But on the website as it was first launched, and as it will be in a couple of weeks' time when the new one is launched, there's an effect. In fact, I think there is a page still on the website that's about our creatives and gives a little bio about them, and why they wanted to get involved.
Awesome.
So we agreed to obviously give them credit. We're not precious about the copyright and stuff like that of the designs. So we've said to them, we're happy for them to use the designs in portfolios, happy to give them references for any kind of work that they need in the future. And a big thing as well is about them seeing it as a gateway opportunity, because there is one designer in particular called Alyssa who works with us, who, when we get little projects that come in from other businesses. So an example is a museum that we work with in Manchester. They needed some illustration doing for a book and also for some clothing that they wanted doing. And I said, well, I know a great student designer who can do that for you. So she, off the back of that, has been given commissions to work with them. And it's given her some real brilliant experience, as well as now actually paying her a wage. So, or at least some money in her pocket while she's studying. So it's that kind of, when they see it as a long-term thing, in terms of the opportunity it could give them, 6, 9, 12 months down the line or even longer, then that's when the real value comes through. I think some people might look at it and say, well, I'm just giving you a design for free and I'm not getting anything in return.
Yeah.
And that's true, essentially. But in terms of a longer term picture, we make sure to look after people and give them opportunities where we can. And now we are pay them for work, then we do. And anything that comes through, we can now pay them on a freelance basis to do it, because they gave us that chance in the beginning, and so we now have to give them the same chance back. It's just fair at the end of the day, isn't it?
And I love that you basically network your way to where you are now.
Try to.
Yeah, I love that, man, because you also create a lot of connection with influencers over there in the UK, right? How could you tell me that story?
That has kind of been more luck than judgment, to be honest. We got in touch with a guy called Ed who runs a mental health campaign called the It's Okay campaign, and it's about encouraging people to talk. It's in saying it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to talk about your feelings and all that. And they have a network of celebrity ambassadors or an influencer ambassadors in the UK. So we said to them, we'll produce the merchandise for you, and the merchandise profits go to a mental health charity. And we will obviously provide T-shirts or whatever to your celebrity ambassadors to try and raise some attention. So as a part of that, what we did was contact them, and it was never a hard sell kind of situation. When we sent them a T-shirt for the campaign, we'd put a letter in the box that explained who we are, what we do, and basically said, if you ever want to work with us, then we're here. And we have had quite a few who have got involved with that, and even to the point where I was only on a Skype call earlier today with one of our influencers called, I say our influencer, she's an influencer who works with us, called Leah, who's an absolutely lovely girl, who's brilliant at the social media side of things and which I'm not an expert in. So again, it's that kind of networking your way into figuring out how to do things. So she is kind of helping us with branding and social media and things like that. And it's all, again, like you say, it's networking your way through, because we met her at an event that we did with the mental health charity last year and just stayed in touch. And then when opportunities come up, then I'm always kind of on the phone and seeing who wants to get involved and who can help out. So that's been good. And influencer marketing is an interesting one for me, because I don't think it's all it's cracked up to be. When we first started, we thought that was the golden ticket. If you had a celebrity wearing one of your T-shirts, you'd sell millions of pounds worth, and that would be it. And it's just not the case, because we have had celebrities with 1.5 million followers putting our T-shirts on and putting them on their Instagram page, and it doesn't really result in any sustained jump in sales.
Wow.
In reality, and this is the conversation I was having today with Leah, it's about audience and about targeting the right people, who are following that particular celebrity or whatever, who might only have 10,000 followers, But if their followers are engaged with them because they want to know about the clothing they're wearing, rather than because they were on some TV program, that is far more valuable. So that's a big lesson that I've learned, and again, is something I've only really learned through the networking kind of situation and speaking to people who know about that kind of thing and can give me advice. So yeah, influence marketing is an interesting one. I'm not a big expert on it, but it's a difficult one to navigate, I think, as a new startup business.
No, but I agree with you. It makes sense that you want to target like the right niche, so to say. So yeah. It is my question: how do you, if you actually thought of your niche, did you have your niche like figured out before you started the brand, throughout the process? How?
I think we've really only discovered our niche in the last 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
I think at first we knew it was going to be sustainable. We wanted everything to be sustainable and environmentally friendly. And then the focus originally was on the charity side of it, the fact that something gets given away for everything that's bought, which is great, and we still do it. But what we realised is more people care about the environment. More people are likely to Google environmentally friendly T-shirt or organic T-shirt than they are likely to Google T-shirt where one gets given away. You see what I mean? So we thought, right, which one of those things appeals to the most people? And is that easy for us to quantify and put into something that's easy for people to understand? And it is. So our kind of headline marketing, if you want to call it that thing now, is that all the products are sustainable. And yes, we do a nice thing for charity as well with each sale, but the main selling point is that it's sustainable. And I think we're, in terms of business to business wholesale thing, we deal with a lot of universities, colleges, museums, charities who buy a lot of clothing already. And the idea was to, rather than target people who don't buy clothing and try and convince them that they need to buy it, we looked at people who already buy a lot of clothing, and then all you have to do is convince them to change the supplier. And that was kind of the process in terms of targeting customers. So universities, I don't know what it's like where you are, but over here, universities all have a hoodie or a sweatshirt with the name of it on, and all the students buy one. So this universities will buy tens of thousands of hoodies and sweatshirts and things every year. So what we do is we go to them and say, by switching to our brand and our process, because the whole process from start to finish is sustainable. It's not just the product; it's the shipping, the printing, the packaging, everything. We even offset all of the electricity that we use in the workshop and things like that. By switching, what you're doing is you're saving this amount of water, this amount of energy, and this amount of CO2 emissions, and we can calculate that. So you've actually got some numbers to give someone, so that there's a real tangible thing. So I'll just pull the statistics up, and it's just doing things like turning it into a like.
You mean the same liters of water that you save?
Yeah, so that kind of thing where
Awesome.
rather than just saying it's 10,000 litres of water.
Yeah.
So if I just look at one hoodie, for example, so one hoodie will save over 9,000 litres of water.
Awesome.
As opposed to a conventional cotton hoodie. If you use an organic cotton hoodie, which is what we sell, it'll save 9,000 litres of water. So a lot of people think that sounds like a great number, but they've no idea what that actually means. So what we do is convert that into how many people could have clean drinking water as a result of that. So that calculation works out that one hoodie saves enough water to give 12 people clean drinking water for a full year. And that when you give people that kind of statistic, that's when it really impacts them. So you just had the wow moment then as well, didn't you? And that's that kind of turning it into a people focused strategy as opposed to just big numbers is kind of been the way that we've always gone about it.
Man, I have two main questions that I want to explore because actually I love it. Actually, I was saving that. Well, I'm saving the statistics to to make the intro for you because I found them. Like, dude, it's crazy. Like you can, with all the energy that you saved, you can keep a 60-watt bulb lit for 5 years. I think that just amazing. Again, but going back to what we were talking about, I want to know first. I know that you believe business should be working towards a circular economy, and I agree. But in your opinion and experience, what would you say are the factors that prevent a business from choosing that system over the linear one?
I think to be blunt with you, I think a lot of the time it's price. I think people are used to now paying. So a T-shirt, for example, one of the big analogies that we use is that your T-shirt should not cost less than your cup of coffee. So in the UK, we have a big store called Primark. I don't know if you've got it over there, but and it's basically a very cheap high street retailer of clothing, and you can go in there and buy a T-shirt for £2.50. And when you think about the process,
that's not an organic T-shirt, right?
No. That's just a standard cotton or a polyester T-shirt. Okay. So, but because people are happy to do that because it's cheap, but they don't think about the environmental impact of that. So, a standard cotton T-shirt will use 2,700 litres of water to make a standard cotton T-shirt, just one. So, it's a crazy amount, and when you look at the CO2 statistics as well, it takes about 7 kilos of CO2 emissions. So with an organic cotton one from our particular suppliers, they're completely carbon neutral. So you save 7 kilos of CO2 every single time. And when people know that, it makes them start to think. But in reality, that costs more. So if you want a supply chain where the environment's looked after, the people who have farmed the cotton are paid properly, people who have harvested it, turned it into a textile, then turned it into a garment, and then shipped it to whichever country it's going to. If you can buy that T-shirt for £2.50, those people have not been paid properly. They've not worked in decent conditions. There's just no way that it's possible. As well, for the retailer to then make a massive margin on it as well. So I think it's mainly cost, because if everybody switched over to organic, it would make everything cheaper for everybody. But because there is an option of doing it for £2.50, people will take it because they earn more, and retailers will do it, and manufacturers will do it because they're more interested in the profits than the people. And that's not the case for everybody, but I'm sure that is the case for a lot of businesses. They could, if they wanted to, move to sustainable materials and better working practices, but they won't because it will cost them too much. So I think there is definitely a way forward in terms of a circular economy type thing for fashion. We are in particular looking at trying to start a recycling program, so that when you've bought one of our items, at the end of its lifespan, you can post it back to us and it will be recycled into another T-shirt or whatever. So we're trying to implement that at the moment to really turn it into a proper circular economy.
So I'm sorry. Please keep going.
No, it's all right. That's just something that we're doing to try and implement it ourselves, along with all our other kind of sustainability programs. But it's a difficult one, and it is. sometimes it feels like you're fighting a losing battle, but you've got to just keep positive and keep going with it, because each day there are more and more people and more businesses we speak to about it who say, yeah, that's a great idea, let's do it, and just keep moving forwards. And eventually, sustainable clothing, I'm sure, will be the norm, and I hope it will.
Yeah. So, in order for businesses to adopt a circular economy system, we all should switch to organic clothing and materials, right? If we all move towards that type of how can you call it system, it's going to be cheaper.
I think, yeah, obviously it's supply and demand, isn't it? If there's more demand, then there's more supply. And I think what happens, unfortunately, is the manufacturers, retailers, and big fashion businesses put the onus back on the consumer and say, well, if you wanted it, then you have to pay more for it. So you see what I mean? They give them that opportunity to say to turn it down because it's more expensive. And I think what say a big H&M or somebody, a big fashion retailer, if they said, right, all of our stuff is now going to be sustainable, then there would be no price difference. So you see what I mean? If you take the choice away from people to do it in a non kind of exploitative way of the environment, then it helps. But I think the big thing has to be is buy-in from the big corporates, from big fashion businesses. They have to be the one that turn the tides, and the big fast fashion retailers have to be the ones that get on board with it, because it's all well and good me as a small business owner and you as a consumer and Joe Bloggs in the street saying I want to buy an organic t-shirt. That's one tiny voice, isn't it? And if you really want to make change, it has to be the ones that are manufacturing millions of t-shirts and millions of pairs of jeans and things like that every year. They are the ones that need to make the biggest change. And it's great, obviously, for the individual consumer to get on board and want to buy sustainable clothing, but it doesn't change the kind of big picture, which has to be ultimately governments and things like that making policies about clothing. Because what we've found when we deal with councils and universities and other public kind of bodies is their sustainability policies completely just brush over clothing. It's not something that's thought about, and they'll think about not using plastic cups and cutting down on the amount of water they use and the amount of printing they do. But in terms of the clothing that they buy, it's something that's just completely gone over their heads. And that's where we think we've spotted a bit of a niche in the market, that there's nobody currently jumping in there on a wholesale business-to-business basis saying, well, we can help you with that. You haven't thought about sustainable clothing, but we have, so let us do it for you and let us help you out. And this is the savings that you could make. And the transition is very easy because they already buy clothing. We're just asking them to switch suppliers. So,
yeah, I read that you had, to keep going with this topic, I read that you had three, I'm gonna quote, so to say, your caption, biggest frustrations with the clothing industry.
Yeah.
And you mentioned one, that was the coffee conundrum, playing at it, and apathy. But what I'm trying to go is that you mentioned earlier that you went to universities to make deals, right? To become their supplier of hoodies and so on. I want to know this, to be more specific. If you faced in any of those negotiations, right, with companies like back to business or universities, any type of how to say it, objection, could be price, right, or whatever, and if you found a way to to work with that objection, right? To overcome it. And if you could tell me and elaborate on that.
Yes, we have faced that a couple of times where sometimes it's based on price, and that is where we use the coffee cup conundrum, like we said, where when you explain to people the process that clothing has to go through, and if they're currently paying, £1.50 for a t-shirt wholesale, that the people in that supply chain probably haven't been treated very well, and we're not selling, as we see it, we don't sell a comparable product. Yes, they're both t-shirts, but they've gone through a totally different process, and they're made of different materials and printed in different ways. So that's kind of how we go about that. We don't compare ourselves to their current supplier. And we encourage them to kind of ask their consumers. So for a university, for example, if you've got a university that's buying hoodies and they currently retail them at £20 for argument's sake, but ours might cost a little bit more, we say to them, well, why don't you ask the students? Because if you're a student and you care about climate change and the environment, and you get given the option of you can have the normal one that we've been selling for years for £20, or you can have a sustainable one that's carbon neutral and has saved all this water, but it's £25. The vast majority of students will go with that. And sometimes I think it's businesses and universities are scared of change because they've never done it before. We've always bought our clothing from this particular place, and that's the way it is. And it's only when you start to challenge that, but ask them to ask the end consumer, that they realise, actually, yes, that's a good idea. And we present them with statistics that we found through student surveys about how much, what kind of weighting students give to environmental issues. And the overwhelming majority of students really do care about sustainability and think that their universities should be making more of an effort on sustainability. So when you give them those statistics and then you give them the problem and then you give them the solution, which is you can buy sustainable clothing from us, it's often a very good way of breaking down any of those objections to price and to the difficulty of changing suppliers, which in reality isn't that difficult, but some people just don't like change. But yeah, when you give them a problem and then the solution all in one go, it really helps.
Well, first, I believe that actually it's not just businesses, but we as part of our human nature is that we don't like change. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do, yeah. And I think it's only once you embrace... Right. I think I spent a lot of time like that. And, aside from business, just personally, not wanting to challenge the status quo and going along with things. And that's, as a police officer, that's what you do. You maintain status quo. You don't like change and things like that. And I think that's one reason why I wasn't happy with it, because on a personal kind of note, I think that change and growing and learning and knowledge are some of the kind of biggest things in terms of making yourself happy. You should be constantly looking at, right, if this doesn't make me happy, I have to change it. And if this doesn't work for me, I have to change it. And there's no reason why that shouldn't happen in business either. Like when you suggest, when there's a problem, people come up against a problem and you offer them a solution, then that solution involves change of some sort. I understand that people are scared of it and it's against our nature, but when you embrace it, that's when opportunity arises. And that's definitely where we've seen our opportunities arise from.
Yeah, man, I agree with you 100%, man. Do you think that in order to be successful, say business or any type of entrepreneurial venture, you have to be open to change? You have to be flexible?
Yeah, definitely. I think flexibility in business, especially early in business when you're starting out. We started out as a fashion brand that sold 2 different types of white t-shirt, and now we do web hosting, we do bulk, we do drop shipping, print on demand, all sorts, and we have over 1,000 different products to choose from. So, and that's just been added to every single day. And that's within 18 months that this business has been running. So it's adapt or die, isn't it? Like when the market changes or a customer comes to you and says, right, I like what you do, but I need it to be slightly different. If you say no, that's a customer lost. And that's potentially one of the, one customer leads to another, and everybody needs something slightly different. Unless it's going to cost you a fortune and ruin the rest of your business, then I don't see any reason why anybody shouldn't just adapt to it, change, and then kind of forge a new path. And they say, don't they, that my dad keeps saying to me that the path to success isn't a straight line, it's a zigzag, curly-whirly spiral. And that's definitely true. You have to keep changing and adapting and moving with your clients, customers, the market, everything. And things like coronavirus as well, that if you were on a completely linear path and a plan that could not be deviated from, coronavirus would kill your business, because especially in our business, we can't now go and visit any universities. We can't, none of the places are open for people to go and buy these things. There's no students at universities. So our online business has then again become the focus of what we've done while we've been on lockdown, because we've got that ability to adapt, and we're willing to adapt very quickly to things, which it's key, definitely.
Awesome, man. Awesome. You mentioned, I love what you say, by the way, and I love, you know what, and this is like an extra, I love to make podcasts, like interview people, because I learn so much. I admire completely how the mind of people works. When you mentioned that you present to the universities and the businesses that you work with, the problem and the solution at the same time, right? And there is something I like, because when I like copywriting, and I'm not good at copywriting, but I like copywriting, and there is a formula that is called PAS, that is problem, right? Agitate the problem, right? And the solution is a really influensive way to present your pitch, so to say. So I would love to know if you can, because I know that it's your own pitch, and you know that you might have in the future some competition. But if you could present me, even if it's a rustic or archaic way, like your pitch, like it's a problem solution. To be
honest, we don't have it in a format like that. We try and be as personal as possible and as personable as possible. So we don't do it in like a corporate kind of PowerPoint presentation and slideshow kind of way.
Okay.
What we do is we go and have a conversation with people. We send them the information that they need via email. So to give you the typical kind of process that somebody would go through. So say if you own a business, or say you're in charge of buying clothing for a university, for example, and you contact me and you say 1,000 hoodies, or I want a quote for 1,000 hoodies. What we do is, rather than just give you a price, we say, right, what we want to do is learn more about you as a person and your role and the university and what it wants to do on sustainability. So we immediately open that a conversation up rather than a transaction. So we learn about it and we say, right, so your students are interested in sustainability. We always, in the UK, we have a university guide which ranks the universities based on their sustainability policies and things like that. So we'll look at that and say, right, you ranked quite well or quite badly. So obviously clothing is something that you can really use to either consolidate your place on that ranking or improve your place on that ranking. And then we'll send them a personalized PDF document with the statistics that are based on their particular university. So say their university's got 5,000 students, we'll send them something that explains about organic cotton and everything, as well as us as a business, make some suggestions on the products that might be good for them. But then also the key is the last slide, which is the one that says, if each one of your 5,000 students bought an organic hoodie rather than a conventional cotton hoodie, this is the environmental impact that you would have. And when you present those statistics to people, and obviously, like I said to you, one hoodie saves 9,000 litres of water or something. So if you then multiply that by 5,000 students, you're looking at crazy, crazy numbers. And when you present them that is when you've got them, essentially, because nobody can say that that's not a good thing. So then when it comes to setting up meetings and going and seeing people, they've already had the information. So we don't treat it as a sales pitch as such. We go and we say, you know, we're glad you liked the presentation. We give them some products to have a look at, and we sit and we have a conversation and a coffee, and that's how we do all of our business. It's not a corporate kind of transaction, because I think that turns people off. And a lot of the times, the people that we're dealing with who are into the sustainability and they work with students and things like that, they're not corporate people anyway. They're just normal people, and that's how we want to present ourselves as well. We're not a big corporate that's trying to make millions of pounds a year. We're trying to do something good for the environment and help people at the same time, and help businesses and institutions and universities to try and help themselves and help the environment as well. So, and that's kind of how we present it, to give you a bit of a flavour.
No. I love it, man, because actually you don't come up, right? You don't come across like a salesy person, right? You're like trying to create an impact and a relationship. So it's like, man, I think and it's effective for you. So if it works, cool, man, cool. Where do you want to be in, let's say, 5 to 10 years?
This is something I think about quite a lot.
I'm sorry. Before you answer, where you want to be in a personal level, like you, like Dan, and where do you see business?
This is something I think about quite a lot. So, I think on a personal level, I just want to be. My ultimate goal, and I don't know whether this is 5 or 10 years down the line or more, my ultimate goal is to have the business to a point where I can work from anywhere in the world with a laptop. And, you know, because I work from home anyway, my office is at home. I have a workshop on site where the stuff is produced. A lot of it is produced in partner factories and then shipped direct to customers, so I don't actually have to have any kind of interaction with it personally. So I can do that from anywhere with an internet connection. So that's my ultimate goal, is to get to a point where I can say, right, I want to go and spend my summers in Spain and my, you know, the autumn in America, and you see what I mean? So that's what I want to do. In terms of the business, I don't know. I think I would like to. The goal for this year is to turn over £100,000, and the forecasts that even from the early part of this year would suggest that should be doable. So then I think maybe 5 to 10 years, I'd like to be able to be turning over £1 million a year. But in reality, that would involve a lot of expansion for us and a lot of investment, and don't want to lose personal touch. So it may well be that we don't do that, and we say, right, we're happy with our lot at this point, and you know, we're happy with the impact that we're making every year, and then just try and maintain that rather than being aggressively, you know, expand aggressively. We can maintain what we're doing and then look at doing other things as well aside from clothing, that maybe have some kind of environmental impact, whether it's charity work, tree planting schemes, stuff with animals. Like, we'd absolutely love to be able to do some stuff for animals, or, you know, helps with conservation work for rainforests and things like that. I'd absolutely love to do that. And in terms of product as well, we already look at how can we use sustainable materials in other ways. So things like bedding, we've looked at whether we could try and convince the hotel industry to switch their bedding to alternative materials that are more sustainable. Because if you think about the amount of bed sheets that the amount of hotels, even in just one city, must use, it would be astronomical. And the impact have on the environment. So it's kind of a hidden thing with the environmental impact of textiles and cotton, because it's not, people aren't cutting trees down, but the water that it takes and the pesticides and stuff like that that are used in cotton production, conventional cotton production, are really bad for the environment. And pesticide poisoning as well of farm workers is just horrendous. So to be able to solve all of those problems and provide a nice product for people is great, and something that I'm sure as we get bigger, more people will become interested in. And then if we could go to Hilton hotels and say, right, buy all of your bedding from us because it'll save this amount of water or what have you, that would be a great place for the business to be in.
Okay, Dan, let's get into the last section of the show. Quick questions, quick answers, okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Here we go. You wrote on your Instagram page this quote that says, "You will regret not giving it a go more than trying and failing." So, is there anything you would like to do if you had the chance to go back in time?
I try to live my life without regrets and without kind of wishing I'd done things differently. And I think anything like that, I think at the time is exactly what you wanted to do. So I try not to regret it, because you obviously wanted to do it at the time. It's like tattoos, isn't it? People say you'll regret it, but to me it's a reminder of a time you were young and when you wanted to do exactly that. So I think probably the only thing that I do wish I'd done differently is manage my money differently, because I think when I was a student in kind of my first years of working, and you get credit for the first time and things like that, you feel like it's free money and you just spend it on holidays and things you can't really afford and nice cars and stuff. So I think that's probably the thing that I would change, is maybe because I'm now paying for that at 29 years old, that's probably what I would do differently. I'd be a lot more responsible in terms of my own finances.
Yeah, I can relate with that, man. And let me stop for a minute here, because I need to let them know, guys, if you're listening right now, this is incredible. We are re-recording what we recorded earlier with Dan. So again, man, I appreciate you so much that you're putting in the effort to come up with the answers and keep with the vibe.
No, we do our best, don't we?
Man, give me an unpopular opinion about men's mental health.
For me, this is an easy one. So I'm a big believer that this notion of people that say you should never give up and you should always keep pushing and keep going no matter how hard it gets. I just don't believe that to be true. I think in certain circumstances, yes, you should never give up just because something's tough. But in a situation where, whether it's a job or a relationship or something like that is making you mentally ill or physically ill or whatever, you should definitely give up, and you shouldn't. You need to swallow your pride and accept that it's not right for you and change it, and don't be afraid of that change. So yeah, this macho kind of, and it is mainly a male thing, I think, of no, I never give up because I'm a bloke and I'm a male and I do this. And nothing will ever stop me, is something that needs to kind of be nipped in the bud, and people to accept that no, you absolutely should quit if it's not right for you. And to me, that is a braver and more courageous decision to accept that something isn't right and change it, rather than just blindly keep going no matter what it does to you. So that's probably not very popular to some people, but that's what I think about that.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think that takes humility to embrace the fact that maybe you're not good at what you're doing, or maybe that whatever is not making you happy, right? But sometimes we feel the duty, so to say, to carry on with an identity that we created throughout our life, right?
Yeah.
So for example,
Definitely,
for example, for you, like, I know that you took the decision to take a step away from being a police officer, but for you, if you created that identity, I am Dan, I am a police officer, I can't leave my job. This is who I am.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that your decision was like brave, as you say, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, that's the big thing. I think, especially in jobs like that are quite macho and alpha male and things like that, it's almost even more difficult to accept that not only is there something wrong, but to the point where you can't do it anymore. I think there's probably a lot of people who view that as a weakness, whereas the way I see it, and maybe it's just the mindset I have, is no, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do to change it for your life for the better.
Yeah, man. What's ghost hunting? I love to ask this again, man.
Well, ghost hunting is this. Yeah, you've seen this on the website in my profile. But so I'm quite a spiritual person. Like, I believe in spirits and energy and things like that. And I don't try and explain. I can't explain it scientifically or anything like that. It's just something that I believe.
Yeah.
And ghost hunting, I don't know whether it's kind of a big thing where you are, but over here there are, obviously, England has a lot of very old buildings and stuff, so there'll be castles or what have you that are reportedly haunted by ghosts or spirits, and you can go on like organised tours almost of these places and see if you can experience anything for yourself. And I enjoy doing that kind of thing because I like anything that kind of pushes your understanding and knowledge of the world around you, you know, and things that you can't explain. I really quite enjoy. So I have had some experiences doing that kind of thing, which have been really interesting, like in particular kind of footsteps in empty rooms and things being thrown around and stuff. So it's something that I enjoy doing. It's very different to what I do day to day and obviously what I did in my previous career, but it's something that I enjoy doing anyway.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Dan, pick one superpower. And I know which one you're going to pick, but here we are. Here we go again. Read people's mind, stop the time, or become invisible at will.
This, again, I think is quite an easy one. It'd be stop the time, because I think your life is so short and fleeting that you want to enjoy every moment. And there are certain moments, I think, where if you could pause it and just kind of live in that moment for a little while, it would be amazing to be able to do that and see people that you know, loved ones that you've lost, or people who've lost touch with, or whatever. I think that would be an amazing thing to be able to do. And from a business point of view as well, it'd be nice to be able to stop the emails sometimes and things like that are just kind of out of control. But that's what I would do anyway. Try and hold on to little moments of life that you'll never get back.
Awesome, man. Is there anything I should have asked but I didn't?
No, I think you've covered everything in terms of what the things that I would like to speak about, and everything to do with the business and my mindset on things. It's been really interesting, actually, because you've asked a lot of questions that have made me think about things in a different way and maybe verbalize them where that's never been done before, and I've never kind of said it out loud. It's just a thought process that I have that's never kind of been explained. So I thank you for the opportunity to be able to get it out there, and it's kind of deepened my own understanding of the way I work and this business works and ideas and stuff like that. So thanks for that.
No, you're welcome, man. I love your words, and that's the idea of the podcast. Okay, Dan. One last question. How can you improve yourself every day?
I think I try. I'm in a bit of headspace at the moment where I am trying to improve myself. And I think it's healthy to always be in that kind of headspace. You should always be trying to improve and learn on things. But a couple of things that I'm trying to do at the moment is get into a better routine, because, you know, it's very easy when you've got a new business that is busy, or even one that's not busy, I suppose, to just kind of wake up in the morning, pick your phone up, start on the emails, and then that's it. And you don't take any time for yourself or any time to kind of relax and set your intentions for the day. So something I'm trying to do is get into a bit more of a routine, wake up. I try and do a bit of yoga in the mornings, and just have a bit more structure and not be immediately thinking about work all the time. And another thing is that I try to do is, obviously, there's a lot of queuing going on at the moment. Like in England, you have to queue outside the shops and supermarkets and stuff at the moment, because there's only a certain amount of people allowed inside. So whereas most people are looking down at their phones, something that I'm trying to do is put my phone away, look up and interact with people, even though you can't be close to them. You know, just watch things, watch what people are doing, read things and look in shop windows. And occasionally you'll just catch the eye of somebody that's walking past you who's also not looking at their phone. And, you know, you exchange a little smile and a hello. And that can be a really important interaction for that person, because you don't know what other people are going through. And it might just be that somebody who's really struggling and just needed somebody to smile at them and say hello has really benefited from that. And it's something that you can do so easily, and it'll make you feel better as well. You know, being kind and being supportive of other people is something that is so rewarding for you as an individual as well. So that's something that I think, if you are kind to somebody every day, that will definitely help you improve as a person.
That's awesome, man. And you know what? I like that you have a super sharp memory, man. I like amazing.
Thank you.
Dan, I enjoyed so much the conversation. It was a pleasure. Again, thank you for taking the time to re-record this section.
No, it's okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan.